Hello, and welcome back to Cape Corner, where we explore the history, story, and cultural impact of a different character or group every episode. I'm Blue, and I'll be your host as we take this journey together. Today's episode is going to be a bit different from the normal format. You see, my boundless charm and charisma has been sent out into the ether to enrapture you lovely listeners to great success so far, and it's drawn in a special guest to help me talk about today's character. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello, hello. I am Jordan Blue Man, the color, not the verb. And I'm joining the podcast this week.
Hell yeah, my dude. What is up? How are you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good. How are you feeling today?
I'm feeling great. We're definitely asking each other how we are feeling for the first time today.
Yes, there has been no prior conversation before we hit record on this podcast.
Why would you ever think such a thing? All right, so today we are going to be continuing a through line that my past couple episodes have sort of set up for us. First, I spoke about the Iron Fist, the sworn enemy of the hand. Then I spoke about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the sworn enemies of the foot. And today, we will discuss an alternate universe iteration of the boy who gave the Turtles their origin. He's the man without fear, the devil of Hell's Kitchen. Today, we will be talking about Daredevil.
Who really probably should have been called Batman on retrospect. He's blind. He uses hearing to see things.
I think it might have been already taken.
There's a chance that name was already taken, yeah.
Some obscure dickhead, right?
Yeah, I don't know. There's got to be a Batman out there somewhere.
Maybe someday we'll find him.
Maybe someday on this podcast.
Spicy. There's your what do you call it when
foreshadowing, a teaser,
a
little sequel bait.
Yeah, there you go. What I'm saying is watch the podcast or listen to the podcast to eventually get there. We're fucking this up.
Anyway. Beautiful.
All right. IRL history. So Daredevil debuted in the aptly named Daredevil #1 back in 1964, April of 1964. He was created by Stan the Man himself, Stan Lee, with art from Bill Everett and character design input from Jack Kirby. Kirby would be the one to come up with the idea for Daredevil's iconic Billy Club, which is a staple for the character. It's also probably one of the most unique weapons that I've seen a superhero use. It's probably up there with, what would you say, Hawkwoman's mace, right?
Yeah, it's on the level. Thor's hammer, Captain America's shield, and Daredevil's special Billy Club.
Well, I feel like the hammer maybe less so these days, because now it's... Well, I don't know. I feel like when something hits a certain degree of popularity, everybody tries to use it. And I feel like I've seen more hammer adjacent weapons. Though I guess I will say probably not like the weird little hand hammers like what Thor has. His is like really close to just a ball peen hammer.
Yeah, and the specific Excalibur style worthiness to wield it.
Yeah.
Seems pretty unique in the superhero world.
That's true. But yeah, so the original design of Daredevil, I can't get over it. It's kind of ridiculous. He wore a bright yellow full body suit with a mask with pointed bits at the top meant to mimic devil horns. The mask was like a half cowl, like Batman's, where it covers from the nose up and it exposes the mouth and chin. He had red boots and gloves, a red tank top, and I want to say shorts, but it's almost more like a thong. It was similar to like an old-timey wrestling or acrobat attire. The entire thing was reminiscent of luchadores. He also sported a brighter red belt and a red leg holster for his Billy Club to complete the outfit. Have you seen the outfit I'm talking about?
I have, and I believe it was created from the boxing robes that his father wore because his father was a boxer, and it looks hilarious by
Oh,
modern
like
standards.
the robe that they wear as they go in that they take off before the fight.
I believe that's supposed to be the origin of the suit.
Is that why he's got clothes on top of what is already a fully functional suit? Like the red is from the robe.
I think so. I'm not completely sure of that.
I mean, that makes it, how do I want to word it? That makes it more wholesome, but
Yeah, it's got a nice story. It still looks ridiculous.
I was gonna say it's still dumb though. But it's '60s comics. They couldn't all be Spider-Man. They couldn't all be like the right out the gate super classic and timeless look.
But he eventually acquired that timeless look.
Yeah. The red suit is what everybody knows him for these days, for sure. And I think I don't know if I would say it's like one of the most iconic, but it's definitely one of the most recognizable. You can immediately look at him and be like, yeah, that's Daredevil. Um, which I think is a real testament to the design because sort of like a skin tight leather with a half cowl mask is not uh unique.
Yeah,
But it's something about the color and um I think the horns play a big part. Um I don't know, it's a very simplistic design, but it's very striking and it gives it a lot of individuality as a result of that.
the horns are very cool, and apparently, in some versions of the character, have like radio receivers in them, so he can listen in on police scanners.
You know what? My immediate response was going to be like, "That's dumb," but then I remembered that Batman has that, so I will not be a hypocrite. I refuse to be that. That sounds fine. I'm okay with
If
it.
Batman does it, it's okay.
If I think something is cool for Batman, it's not fair for me to act like it's not cool for Daredevil.
Yeah.
Speaking of Batman, Daredevil, and coolness, the two of them share Ben Affleck, and
Ben Affleck.
I will I will say I don't think he's a bad actor, but maybe he's not a great superhero actor.
Yeah, I think he's fine as Batman and Bruce Wayne, but he was pretty miscast as Daredevil.
Terribly so. I mean, everything about that movie, like there was exactly one and a half, I'll say, really good things about Daredevil. Um, oh no, I forgot his name. Green Mile guy,
I'm not sure.
the actor who played the inmate in the Green Mile. Shit, Google, help me.
Oh, man.
You
I
know who
can't
I
pull that
mean?
out of my head. I know who you mean.
Michael Clark Duncan.
The Wilson Fisk in this. Yes.
Yeah, Michael Clark Duncan's Kingpin was fantastic. Um, he
He was
exuded.
great. He had an awesome entrance.
He had such a great presence on the screen. Like
Colin Farrell as Bullseye is
he was the other one.
delightfully weird.
He was the half for the one and a half that I mentioned.
Yeah,
Because
and
it's not.
I am what I would call a poptimist. So I find reasons to like movies even when they're bad. I enjoyed it somewhat. I'd put it about on the level as the Nicolas Cage Ghost Rider movie and a little below the Fantastic Four movie from 2005.
Whoa, wait, which one?
The 2005 Fantastic Four
Oh,
movie.
I heard like 2010, and I was like, there wasn't one in 2010. What is he talking about? All right,
Did he come from an alternate universe where there was a 2010?
is this my superhero origin story? Are you me from another world? Is that why we're both blue?
Ah, see now that makes for a compelling arc.
Mm. Tune in for the next issue. um, but yeah, I think uh, they need to learn to not worry about name draws. Name draws in movies was a big thing in like the 80s and the 90s and before, but in more recent days, you don't need people aren't as interested in following every movie in a specific actor's catalog. More so today, people have a specific flavor of movie they enjoy, and if they like the work of an actor in that movie enough, they might check out more from them.
Right, that's very true that the age of the movie star has somewhat died out. There's only a few left where if you put them in a movie, people will go see it just because they're in it. Dwayne Johnson comes to mind, but
Like, okay,
otherwise,
fun fact about me, I'm bisexual and I lean extremely close to straight. Like, I have a ridiculous standard for guys. Like, I like women like so
but Dwayne
much.
Johnson.
He is one of the men. He's part of that standard, and I'm just like, God, yeah.
He's a
I
handsome
don't know,
man.
man. What can I say?
He's a handsome
Um,
man.
all right, so I think now is a good time to transition from me talking about how gay I am, to to go into the origin of Daredevil. What do you say?
That seems like a good thing to do in this Daredevil podcast.
Yeah. So the origin of the character in real space is pretty cut and dry. I don't have a lot more to say about him. Like, he doesn't seem to have a big controversy like, some of the other characters I've talked about did. It was pretty much just, hey, we thought of this character and we made him. So I'll go into his fictional history now. And it's a good thing that his fictional origin is very rich. It has a lot going for it. So
Oh, yes.
young Matthew Murdock was raised by his single father, a boxer, as you mentioned, known as Battling Jack Murdock. Uh, Jack raised Matt in Hell's Kitchen in New York, teaching Matt to focus on education and nonviolence because he wanted a better life for his son. And I think, like, that's very sweet and wholesome. And in service of trying to make Matt be able to live a life that was more successful than having to punch guys in the face in a boxing ring, he raised Matt Catholic. And I have my own thoughts on the realities of Catholicism, but I will set them aside to recognize that the sentiment for having a strong sense of morality came from a genuine place. So, like in the Turtles' origin, but this time without said turtles, Matt was almost hit by a truck. This time, instead of carrying a mutagenic alien ooze, it just was holding, I think it was just like radioactive waste, like byproduct.
That sounds
Um,
about right.
so this time, Matt was almost hit because there was a blind man walking in the street that was going to get hit, and Matt rushed in to save him, calling back to his greater morality that was being instilled by his father. So, pushing the blind man out of the way, the truck swerves, the radioactive substance splashes into Matt's eyes, and it blinds him. Um, but it does also alter his physiology. He now has extreme senses of smell, touch, taste, and hearing, like really far beyond normal human limitations. And it's also given him a radar sense. So with all of these senses combined, he can still detect the shape and location of objects around him. And he can
A
have
radar sense that Stan Lee once said is better than Spider-Man's spider sense. Fun fact.
I think, yes, I will always I will always kowtow to whatever Stan Lee says, but I think it's a little bit weird to compare the two because they have different functions.
Yes.
One gives you a very literal interpretation of what is in your environment around you. The other is a future sight, essentially.
Yeah, a little warning sign.
Yeah, it is. It is immediate precognition to danger, which is not exactly the same thing, but I think he's talking about in terms of like what gives someone better general sense of their surroundings and how to avoid stuff.
Yeah, perhaps Daredevil's Raider sense may give him a better sense of what's about to happen to him because he can hear and smell so far.
Like, he doesn't need the general sense of danger is coming. He can very specifically pinpoint what the danger is. Sometimes part of Spider-Man's problem is that he doesn't know what the danger is, so he has to look around to see what direction it's coming from. But with Daredevil, if like your muscle twitches in your bicep because you're about to reach for your gun, he can immediately figure out what you're doing. So like I understand that, but at the same time, I think there's a little bit of a trade-off in that Spider-Man has the ability to dodge unconsciously with his spider sense, while Daredevil needs to consciously think about everything he's doing.
Yes.
But regardless, the radar sense combined with his enhanced senses, he can detect the shape and location of objects around him, and have as you said, a greater sense of his environment than a person with 20/20 vision. However, he still can't read without Braille. He can't perceive color. Shapes don't have the same quality of definition for minute details, so it's not all perks. Um, I don't know about you. Have you seen the Netflix Daredevil series?
Absolutely, and I was shocked at how close to the comic book origins of the character the show managed to get, much more than the movie did.
Yeah, the movie really took a lot of liberties, but the show, like I normally hate flashbacks in some of these series, but every time it did flashback to young Matt Murdock, I was fascinated. I will give them that. They did a fantastic job nailing his origin. But I was going to bring up the World on Fire. The
Yes.
the So in the 2003 Daredevil movie, the way that they interpret Matt's radar sense is that it is very like sonar. Like imagine sonar visualized in a 3D space. You see a waveform of like air pressure or sound pressure. Well, it's the same thing, but you know what I mean. A waveform of pressure pass through, and it sort of colors the outlines of edges blue, or edges and surfaces. And so through that you get this like plum, and like you can see everything in blue, and it's very flat, but it gets the job done. But in the Netflix series, he says that everything to him looks like a world on fire, and this you can get the sense that it's more than just the sense of hearing. It is a lot of things. It's
Yeah, they seem to
smell.
visually take into account his sense of heat differentials and air currents and the smell and everything.
Everything is wispy and wavy, and you know what, I think it is a beautiful metaphor, because I will admit I don't know if the comics do this, but like they very strongly play with the themes of I can be your angel or your devil, like it's like I'm a Catholic man but I have to be the devil to make the world a better place, for all that
Yes.
stuff. And I think one of the best things is I see the world on fire all the time, and I'm constantly trying to be a good person while the world around me looks like hell. Like literal hell. Like everything's on fire.
Yeah, it kind of puts into perspective that if the world looked like that in my mind, I'd be pretty angry too, and I'd probably want to take out my anger on criminals.
He's constantly on edge, and he looks like a man barely holding his anger together, and he could snap at any moment. And I think that does a great service to help you understand why he's gotten to that point.
Do you happen to know if he has a no-kill rule in the comics?
Um, he does not. Well, it depends on the comic, right? Like
Right.
the 60s was the big era for a lot of Marvel comics to start, and Daredevil is again one of those characters that came out in the 60s. And this is during the Silver Age of comics. During the Silver Age, the Comics Code Authority brought the hammer down super hard on what you were or were not allowed to depict in comic books. And they are the predominant reason why characters developed codes against killing, because they did not want to advocate murder to children. So in his origin, I do believe Daredevil was very devout against killing. And that was easy enough to write in because, again, he was a Catholic. He was a man of God. He wanted to abide by, the commandments, and one of them is "Thou shalt not kill." But I do believe later on, especially in the Bronze Age, things got a lot more gritty, and he was more open to, at the very least, like extreme bouts of injury. Batman did a similar thing, and like I said, the Turtles originally was like a gritty thriller noir because they wanted to poke fun at the extreme, borderline absurd nature of just how ruthless these characters in these worlds were.
Yeah, I found that interesting because in the show, he clearly has a no-kill rule, but in the movie, he doesn't seem to.
No, he murders a bunch of people.
No.
I don't want to shit on Ben Affleck too much, but why is it every time he plays a character who does have a code against killing, that code is out the window? I'm sorry,
It's gone.
he turned men in a car into a smoothie. There's no way you get around that with that Batmobile scene.
Yeah, that movie. Both movies being referenced here have some problems.
They both can be summed up with that movie.
But that show, my God,
yes,
it is amazing.
So, in terms of his origin, Matt's father, Jack, did return to boxing under a gangster known as the Fixer, who is apparently the only guy in New York City, I guess, who would hire an aging, washed-up boxer. The Fixer demanded that Jack would throw a fight, but because Matt was cheering him on in the audience, Jack couldn't bring himself to do so. He pushed himself, he won the fight, and as a result, the Fixer has him killed for it. So Jack had made Matt promise him that he wouldn't resort to violence to solve his problems. So remembering that promise, Matt decided to adopt another persona. In his mind, Matt Murdock won't be using violence. The Daredevil will. And that's bullshit. That is horseshit. It's one of the weakest ways to try and create a moral loophole. Just admit you couldn't keep your promise, Matt. Like, your dad got killed. You want to kill the people, or at least hurt the people who killed him.
It seems like a slightly cheap way to get around the promise you made to your now deceased father.
Yeah, like, it's not bringing you personal, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not clearing.
Catharsis.
It's not catharsis. It's not bringing you personal clearance for your broken promise. You are not unaware that you are Daredevil. you still know you're committing violence. So, and your dad's dead, so who are you trying to prove it to that you're not committing violence? No one else will give a shit. I mean, like, vigilantism, sure, whatever.
Yeah,
but
except the people of New York over and over and over again, because his identity gets outed to the public like 12 times in a row in the comics.
They definitely hit a point where they didn't know what to do with the character. So they wanted to continue giving him identity crises like that. And as I mentioned in the Iron Man episode, there was a stint where Danny Rand actually became Daredevil for a while, to give Matt Murdock clearance so that, people could be like, well, Matt Murdock can't be Daredevil because I saw Daredevil was fighting people on TV while I was drinking coffee with Matt Murdock. So,
my favorite way that Daredevil ever handled his identity getting out was the time that he then decided to pretend that he had a twin brother named Mike Murdock, who had been Daredevil this whole time. Then As Daredevil, well, actually, firstly, as Mike Murdock, he is rambunctious and outgoing, so he has a very different personality to his Matt Murdock persona. But Karen Page, who we've not yet mentioned, is the girl who gets hired to be secretary at the law firm of
Yes.
Nelson and Murdoch, which Daredevil opened with his college roommate, Foggy Nelson. And Karen and Matt have a relationship at some points, depending on which comic you're reading. But she started to fall for the Mike Murdock version, and he briefly considers proposing to her as Mike Murdock, but decides he can't do it. He can't keep juggling 3 different lives at once. So, as Daredevil, he fakes his own death so that he can tell everyone that Mike Murdock is dead. And then he, as Matt, says, but don't worry, Mike trained someone else to be Daredevil, so there will still be a Daredevil, and it's still not me. Don't worry about it.
Bro, that is ridiculous.
That is some fourth-dimensional chess that Matt was playing in that issue.
Oh, that's so stupid. The entire thing. No.
It's brilliant. There's no way this plan could go wrong.
There's like 50 absurdities in that story you just told.
So that is the best way that Matt has ever handled his identity being outed.
Holy shit. You know what? I seem to vaguely recall Mike Murdock as a name, but I didn't know that that's what that was.
Yeah, it's a fake person that Matt made up to justify someone looking like him being Daredevil.
Can you imagine if he went through with it? He was like, "Hey, sweet cheeks, it's me, Mike. Hey, bada bing, how's about you and I? We do a little wink, wink, nudge, nudge." I can't whistle. And just like, "Hey, we should get married, toots." And then like, you just gotta, like, imagine if he just like came home real tired one day. And he's just like, "Karen, I'm home. It's me, Matt."
Karen.
And she's like, "Huh?" I was like, "I mean, Mike." Fuck it, I'm Matt.
For the brief moment that he considered that, how on earth did he think he was going to get away with it?
That's why I'm like, it's stupid all the way through. Like you hit, you dig through the crust of stupid, hit stupid bedrock, and then you find stupid magma underneath.
Oh yes, and there are so many times that his identity gets outed. At some point, he needed a magical character to like wipe the memories of all of New York City so that everyone would just forget that he's Matt Murdock.
I hate memory.
And then Foggy found out again like a week later. This is just, he is the single worst secret keeper out of all the people who have secret identities.
I hate memory wiping shit in fiction. I'll even say I didn't like it when they did it in Dragon Ball Z. I just don't like it. But you brought up Foggy a couple times. So I don't know how well versed you are in like 90s films.
Not
like,
super well versed, but there's a chance.
So D3 The Mighty Ducks.
Oh no.
Okay, so Foggy Nelson in the Netflix show is played by, insert actor name here because I forgot his name.
Just add it in post.
Eldon Henson. And no, because like the thing is, every time I've had the conversation about who he is up until now, I've never used his name. I've always said he's the guy from the Mighty Ducks. He now I had some confusion. I think I may have thought he was the wrong guy from the Mighty Ducks. Because yeah, I thought he was someone else. So in D3 The Mighty Ducks, and I'm specifying that one because that's the only one I had on VHS tape. He, or not him, there was this guy who, like, that was the movie where they were in college at that point.
Okay.
There was a guy, who uh, joined them, and he had a technique called the knuckle puck. Um, and it was it was one of those things that's like, it's ridiculous, and I don't even know if it would work in real life. But it was like, he would take the hockey stick, put it down on like one of the edges of the hockey puck to flip it up and turn the puck on its side. So like the puck is like standing up on its side, and then he just reel back and slammed that shit as hard as he could, and it sent it flying through the air like end over end, like, and it was just like half the time it would make the goalie like dive out of the way because they were afraid of having a puck go through their face. And I thought that was him. And so like up until like for the first couple years that the Daredevil show was out, I kept referring to him as the knuckle puck guy, and I think that anybody who knew what I was talking about probably was looking at me like I was a fucking idiot, but nobody said anything.
And someone should have corrected you by that point.
I felt lied to.
And Foggy is played in the movie by Jon Favreau himself, the director
right.
of Iron Man and Elf. I love Elf.
That is the first time I saw Jon Favreau, and I'm so glad it was not the last time.
Oh, he's great.
Yeah, you know, like people have mentioned these like fanfic-esque like things that could happen now that Disney has bought Fox. It's like,
dear.
you know, Wolverine and the X-Men can meet with the MCU characters, and Fantastic Four is going to have a movie and this and that. We need to have Jon Favreau as Foggy meet Jon Favreau as Happy. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, I'm down. I'd love to see that.
And like while we're at it, we need you need to bring Captain America back, like Steve Rogers, very briefly, just so that he can meet
Johnny Storm.
Johnny Storm.
I desperately need to see Chris Evans, Johnny Storm fight whatever Earth Hydra Cap is from.
Wait, I was gonna say, you know what? Like, it's fine. Let Steve be gone. He's been written out of the story. But have Chris Evans come back as Johnny Storm, and everyone be like, Cap? Is that you? He'd be like, hey, who the fuck is that loser? Later, dork. And then he just like puts on the sunglasses and flies away.
Yeah, because Johnny Storm is cool.
He is such a douchebag. I love him. Okay, Daredevil. So, I wanted to ask
Daredevil, right.
Lovely listeners, this is just going to be what it is. I will be completely transparent. I didn't finish my script, but I just said, fuck it. Let's wing it. So we're winging
This is what happens when people with ADHD try to do a podcast with no script.
If people will either hate it or they'll love it, and post your comment down below. Tell me if you like this format or not. And I have a Discord server. You can also join and call me a dickhead in the server there if you don't like it.
You should do exactly that. You should join the Discord server and call Blue a dickhead. But don't call me a dickhead. I'm sensitive.
Specifically call me a dickhead and then leave the server and then never listen to me again.
It'll be worth it. It'll give us a story to tell.
Because we don't have enough of those, clearly. So, okay. Now, I wanted to ask you, do you have any... Okay, well, you already told me the legend of Mike Murdock, but other than that, do you have any, like, stories or like, pieces of media, like, and it can be from the MCU Netflix series, or if he's appeared in any of the cartoons. I'm actually not super... I think he appeared in, like, the Spider-Man cartoon in the 90s.
He appeared in the Spider-Man cartoon in the 90s, and it was a great deal where he gets to team up and help Spider-Man take on the Kingpin, and I loved those 2 or 3 episodes so much. They were so much fun.
We should bring up the Kingpin real quick, because he is fantastic in that he is both a Daredevil villain. He's like the Daredevil villain, but he is also a Spider-Man villain.
Yeah, so he serves as a very good way to bridge the characters when you want them to run into each other.
Yeah. I don't think I'll ever do a Kingpin episode. I don't think there's a whole lot to talk about with him.
I mean, if you do this long enough, you'll get bored eventually.
I mean, I can always like start taking the those like clickbait news things route.
Here's 10 superhero actors from the 90s. You won't believe what happened to number 5.
These 10 superheroes are so charismatic, they'll fuck your dad. So, you know, I can do this forever, theoretically.
But yes, we should talk about the Kingpin.
So, if you had to pick between Michael Clark Duncan or Vincent D'Onofrio,
I'd say Vincent D'Onofrio, no contest. He so well portrays this guy as being oddly pathetic and yet the most terrifying person I've ever seen.
He is extremely scary, but it's funny that you said oddly pathetic, because he's this guy that he portrays simultaneously this unerring confidence, but also like constantly, sort of like Matt, constantly seeming like he could snap at any moment. And yet, all of that sort of goes down the drain when he does fight, because so a far superior podcast to this one, The Weekly Planet, the way they described it is he fights like a giant baby. He gets on top of you and then sort of flails his arms down onto you over and over until you die.
It doesn't help that he kind of looks like a giant baby too.
Big bald head and everything.
Yeah, the chubby cheeks, the giant bald head.
I'm just saying, like he'd be a. You should cast Vincent D'Onofrio for the live-action Boss Baby movie. Is all I'm saying.
Oh no! Why
Please
did you put that image in my head?
I shouldn't have given Hollywood ideas. Oh no!
Because they're gonna do it now, and we'll never recover from seeing that on the big screen.
Well, you're welcome, everybody. I just killed capitalism.
We've ended the theater industry. I'm kidding. The pandemic already ended the theater industry.
I would be interested. I mean, it's a shame because Michael Clark Duncan has sadly passed away. But if he was still with us, I would be interested to see what he would do given a proper role in a series, because he wasn't given much in the movie other than look menacing. You're a big black guy. You scary. Be scary. So like. But like he's a fantastic actor, and I would really be interested to see what his interpretation would be.
Yeah, that is an interesting thought.
Yeah, I think it would have been cool if it were possible, but alas, we'll never get that. But in terms of other supporting characters, we talked about Foggy. Look, I'm gonna put this out there. I don't like Karen.
I don't like Karen.
She's like, I don't have anything against intrepid reporters, which every woman in a superhero franchise seems to be almost, but like she's so, what's the words I'm looking for? Help me. You know
well,
what I
she
mean,
always looks like she's about to cry. I don't know what word for that there is.
Frazzled?
But she has that resting, about to cry face that makes all of her scenes feel like a soap opera, and it's just I don't really connect with it. She's a fine actress. The actress who plays Karen in the show is a fine actress. I just don't really connect with the way that her scenes are written and the way that she always looks like she's about to cry.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's really my only exposure to Karen Page, because I don't read a whole lot of Daredevil comic books.
Comics cost money, and we don't have that, so
they are expensive.
But I think my thing is just she's just really mean-spirited, and I'm saying this having not watched the show in a few years, so I'm sure people will be like, "Oh, what? Give me one example," and I'm like, I can't, because I just don't have it registered in my brain space. But I very distinctly remember incidents where she was just really shitty, to the people who were trying to help her.
Yeah, I don't remember having any specific problems with her on that level. I just feel like the show stopped really knowing what to do with her after season 1.
I think that's
And she
why.
became just kind of there after that.
Yeah, I understand contracts and stuff exist, but I implore movie makers, TV show makers, do not contract an actor or actress to be in multiple seasons if you do not know what to do with them beyond season 1. Because when a character is left spinning their wheels and continues to exist beyond their scope of enjoyability in a show, then you get characters like Barbara Keene. I'm sorry, I've been watching Gotham lately.
How far into Gotham have you gotten?
I'm on season 4. Solomon Grundy just appeared. Spoiler alert.
Ah, yes. Spoiler alert.
I spoiled myself because I was like, this Butch Gilzine guy, he's super charismatic. I like him.
And you went straight to the internet, didn't you?
I was still in season 1, and I googled him, and I was like, Butch Gilzine, real name Cyrus Gold, and I was like, well, shit, there goes that surprise for me.
There we go. That's why you should never Google anything about superhero franchises while you're still watching them.
I've learned my lesson, and I will immediately forget it next time I get excited about a character. All right, so we've talked about Karen, we've talked about Foggy, we've talked about Matt himself.
We've talked about Mike.
Should I save Elektra for another episode? I could totally do an Elektra episode.
You could easily do an Elektra episode, but it's worth mentioning that she was horribly miscast in the 2003 movie, and that she was played very well in the show.
Yeah. Do we want to talk about the seesaw scene?
Oh my god. That scene. Okay, so here's fun fact. I had never seen that movie all the way through, but to prepare for this podcast, I rented it on Amazon a couple days ago.
Okay.
And that scene reached Halle Berry Catwoman levels of terrible movie.
Yeah.
I try so hard to like everything related to comic books. I really try. That scene broke me.
I don't blame you. It broke me too. I was coming off the back of like the 2000 X-Men, the 2001 Spider-Man. I even like as a ignorant little happy child, and I wasn't happy, but we'll go with that.
Close enough.
I even was okay with the Ang Lee Hulk because I didn't know any better at the time. But like when I saw the 2003 Daredevil movie and it got to the seesaw scene, I was just like, this is dumb.
I briefly considered turning the movie off, but I just got through that scene, and then the rest of the movie was okay enough to watch. Okay.
Sure.
After I got through that scene, the scene of Elektra cutting up sandbags in what I assume was her apartment.
That was nice. What's the point of cutting the sandbags anyway? They don't have the consistency of human flesh, so you're not training anything.
You've just created an epic mess that you are never going to be able to clean up.
You have to buy more sandbags now.
And I don't know how she programmed the sandbags to fall in just the right order and seemingly in rhythm with the music. It was very well choreographed. I'll give her props for that.
Oh, you brought up the music. I'm sorry. I got to do it to him. Wake me up inside. Okay.
It is the most early 2000s movie that ever early 2000s in terms of the music that they put into that early 2000s movie.
It's like they predicted what AMVs would be.
They dated that movie so hard with their music choices. It was so sad.
All the things I can't believe I couldn't see. And it's like, you're trying so fucking hard to be like edgy. And
was there a Nickelback song in there? I'm pretty sure there was.
No, that was Spider-Man 2.
Really, there were none in Daredevil? I could have sworn there was at least one in Daredevil.
No.
And it was a particularly bad one. The one in Spider-Man 2, I don't mind. That's the only Nickelback song that I don't really mind.
Like, Nickelback? Is this where we're gonna, like, have a divide? Because, like, people come at me if you want. I'll fucking fight all of you. Nickelback isn't a bad band. It's just everyone was
No,
like,
it's just fun to hate Nickelback. It's for the meme.
that's fair. I get it.
But that one in Spider-Man 2, it's a good song. I'm not gonna lie to you.
What? Seven Nation Army? Wait, oh no, never mind, sorry. I looked up music for the Daredevil movie, and it's like Bring Me to Life by Evanescence, blah 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 blah. And like I skimmed over it and it was like the song is nominated in the category for best rock song at the same event but lost to Seven Nation Army. And I was gonna be honest, if it beat Seven Nation Army, I would have like bashed my head against the wall just now.
Oh boy.
I know you said
Yeah.
you're not a big music guy, but you gotta know that song, right?
Seven Nation Army, absolutely.
Cool. All right, so in terms of Daredevil's pop culture impact on our world, I feel like probably his biggest pop culture impact is weirdly in other aspects of the comic genre. Like he inspired Spawn to a degree. Again, sort of the duality of angel and devil themes. He inspired Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, obviously. He is
That might ironically be his biggest pop culture impact because I don't really know how to gauge the popularity comparisons, but I feel like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are more popular than Daredevil. I think more random people will recognize them than would recognize Daredevil.
Dude, if I go to some rando and I'm like, hey, can you tell me like what Daredevil's powers are? Like, chances are they'll be like, I don't know who Daredevil is. But if I go to them and be like, hey, how does the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? They'll be like, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, so that might ironically be Daredevil's biggest pop culture impact, is inspiring the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. But as far as the character himself, I guess his most popular appearance would be the Netflix series that was an epically huge hit for Netflix. And if I'm doing my math right, I believe the rights have now lapsed back into Marvel Studios and Disney, which has sparked all sorts of discussion about people wanting Daredevil to appear in the next Spider-Man movie.
Yeah, I've actually seen people
many rumors.
Make edits of pictures to have Charlie Cox and Tom Holland's Spider-Man like in the same area, making it look like it's a behind-the-scenes thing that we got, but it's like it's an obvious edit. Look, this is not a Spider-Man episode, but I'll say this real quick. Why the fuck is everyone being like, I want to have Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield in the new Spider-Man movie? I understand the draw of the multiverse. I've been joking about it in this episode, but like Tobey Maguire wasn't that good as a Spider-Man. Fucking fight me, people. Like,
see, that's how you bring people to your Discord to call you a dickhead.
Do it. I dare you.
That's how to get them to come.
Look, I'm not saying he was bad, but everyone's like, he was like the god of Spider-Man. Rewatch his acting. Rewatch it. He was decent.
Now, I would not at all mind seeing all three versions of live-action Spider-Man on screen at once.
I wouldn't mind it.
I've got a feeling that's not the direction we're going with the story being told in the MCU currently. But if Daredevil were to show up, God, would I be happy with it.
Don't get me wrong, I wouldn't mind any of these people appearing in the new movie. What I mind is when people act like It's going to happen. It better happen. They will boycott the movie if it doesn't. Shut the fuck up. We all know you're going to watch the movie.
Yeah, well, it's kind of just a trend in social media culture now that people will take what they call leaks from movie sets and movie studios, which is usually an anonymous person guessing things on the internet, and they take it as foolproof evidence.
Yeah. You are not wrong. And
I wouldn't say that he's not going to show up in the movie, but I have no reason to assume that he will either.
I find that whole thing of people take leaks to heart, or leaks with quotation marks around it. That leads directly into my biggest problem with nerd culture today, is that it causes them to create an expectation in their mind. They construct a fantasy of what the movie should be, or at least the skeleton of the movie.
And if
then
you've already written the movie in your head, you're probably not going to like the movie you got.
When it is not what they thought of themselves, they get mad and they call it bad, even if it's good. And again, they did that shit with Star Wars. I'm tired of seeing
it. Never works. It's always a bad idea to write the movie in your head before you've seen it.
I want people to come back to a time where you had childhood wonder. Like you went in being like, wouldn't it be cool if this happened? But no matter what pops up on the screen, you can still have genuine excitement, and you are not looking at everything with a fine-tooth critical comb of like, where is this? I wanted this. It better be here. Is that it? No. Like, take things as they come, accept things as they are, and then judge whether it's good or bad. Again, I didn't judge that Batman vs. Superman was bad before I even got there. I mean, I kind of did just because I saw the trailers and I was like, this is going to be bad. But I didn't judge it before I ever had any reference for it.
Acceptance, the true theme of this podcast. Accept things and then accept people. To be fair, I did that to myself with WandaVision. I saw, spoiler alert if you've not seen WandaVision, I saw Evan Peters, and I was like, I don't know how he got here, but I am so excited that the X-Men Quicksilver is in this show now. And then it wasn't him. And I was heartbroken. So there was a solid 3 days where I thought the finale was bad because it turned out it wasn't him. But then I rewatched it and I'm fine. It's fine.
Maybe I am spectacularly skilled in this department. I don't know. All I know is that I also thought that he was Quicksilver, and when it was revealed that he was Ralph Boner, I was like, Boner. I was like, oh, that wasn't what I was expecting. All right, cool, we're back at the fight. Woo! And like immediately I was fine. Like, because I don't know, I am able to take things as, okay, I did not expect that, but I don't immediately go to a place of annoyance at that. If it is something bad, like by itself, when it defies my expectations, then yeah, I'll be like, that's shittier than it could have been. That's frustrating. But I also recognize that I'm not predicting the future. I'm just making guesses, and my guesses can be wrong. So when sometimes my guesses are wrong, I'm able to separate my guess from what I see, and I'm able to go, well, that still wasn't really bad. It was just different.
Right. And it's an important frame of mind to hold on to in nerd culture.
Yeah, and like you said, like people should learn to accept things as they are. Having a strong expectation for what you want a person or a property to be is an unhealthy way of living. And it was kind of a joke, but yeah, I'm sure you've noticed if you've listened to an episode or two of mine, which you have, right?
Oh, yes.
Cool. Thank you. That
you're very welcome.
I do kind of try to end these on like a moral high note. Like I try to bring
Oh, well,
a
then we've headed in exactly the right direction.
yeah. So you know what? As your inauguratory uh, uh, entrance into the series, would you like to say the words of wisdom that we've learned from today's episode?
Well, if we were to sum it up, it would, it's like I said, it all boils down to acceptance. You know, you don't have to dislike something just because it's not quite what you thought it would be. You know, as long as the story is good, as long as the things are being told well, it's acted well, it's written well, which, to be fair, sometimes they aren't. But finding that optimism, finding things to enjoy in nerd culture, it's always important. You know, if you're going to consume this stuff, at least try to enjoy it.
Said, my friend. Well said. Do you do you have anything that you want to plug? That's a thing people do when they collab, right?
Oh, they plug things? Wow, that feels so official. I mean, I guess we could just both talk about where to be found on social media. I know that's a thing podcasters do all the time.
Yeah.
So you can find me at Jordan Blueman everywhere: Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, Discord, probably DeviantArt. I don't know. I might have made an account at some point. But if I did, it's Jordan Blueman.
Nice. I don't need to announce mine because I link my stuff in the description of my episodes. If you want, I can link a couple of your things.
Yeah, sure.
Cool.
That
So,
works.
so we're still figuring it out, but I think that'll about bring today's episode to a close. I think this one ran a lot longer than my normal one, but it's fine. We'll try it out, see how it works.
Yeah.
So thank you for listening. Please give the episode a like and a comment, and follow me on whatever platform you're listening on. Check out my Patreon page. Maybe toss a dollar or two my way. Anything helps. I'm not picky. And feel free to join the Discord where I post updates and ask for episode suggestions, as well
Yes,
as
join the
engage.
Discord, call us dickheads, and have some fun.
Hey, you interrupted me, you dickhead. Uh, so how about this? I'll throw the onus on you. What should my next episode be about?
Oh, that's an interesting question.
Yeah.
Well, you know
you're
what? Let's close with. I'm going to close with one more thing that I've read that Daredevil did once, because
Okay.
there was a point in the comics where Daredevil had murdered someone. I'm pretty sure he was possessed by some demonic being or something. I don't know. Comic books are weird, but he killed someone, and he is now on trial. And at this point in time, Hell's Kitchen is basically up for auction. Someone could buy it if they wanted to. And Matt Murdock reached out to someone who might be the next episode, which is Tony Stark. He reached out to Tony Stark and asked him to buy Hell's Kitchen. Tony couldn't actually do it, although, you know what? Here's multiple choice. You can pick which one of these you want to go with, because Tony couldn't do it. Someone else bought it first. And Daredevil got very concerned, because if he's going to prison and someone bad has bought Hell's Kitchen, he can no longer ensure their safety. It needs to be someone he trusts. But then he finds out that it is none other than Elektra who has bought Hell's Kitchen, and she promises to keep it safe for him.
Is
And
she
then
rich?
he apparently, at this point in time, and then he pleads guilty to second-degree manslaughter and goes to prison, which is a sad note to leave Daredevil on, but a happy note for Hell's Kitchen.
I mean, he's also a lawyer, so I'm sure he'll figure it out.
He'll figure it out, and his whole life is very sad consistently, so it's
Well,
hard to leave on a positive thing happening to Daredevil.
I hope you know the immense weight that you just put on me, but I will do my best to carry it with with next week's episode about Iron Man. Dude, you just got me fucking slaughtered. All right, that'll do it. So, uh, Thank you again for listening. Until next time, stay strong, stay true to yourself, and remember, we can all be heroes. Thank
See you
you.
around.
Thank you for joining me, Jordan.